Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it, back from a little vacay and holiday week. Good to be with you on Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and we are loaded up for a run at it on a Tuesday. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. You can email Chris at hailvarsity.com and find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio for Chris Schmidt, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. And we will get rolling with it. Love your input and feedback. A lot to get into today. Some recruiting thoughts as Nebraska falls short on James Mons III. I have not talked to Kranek. I don't know if his Wonder Mons picture, he has one framed above his toilet in the bathroom. Don't know why. Don't ask. I just know that Kranek's a big Wonder Mons guy. Well, James is going to Indiana. Some reaction to that. Nebraska football, we are counting down, getting closer to kickoff, which is pretty impressive. Dr. Petey did a nice write-up, good story on some of the position group rankings by Phil Steele, who we just had on. So get into that. Some thoughts on the AD search as that matriculates. And Mitch Sherman with us in about 20 minutes. Mitch from The Athletic. Get his take on things. We will dive into some NBA Finals moments, more so nostalgia than the actual matchup. Although Giannis is a game-time decision, that's encouraging as the Bucks and Suns get after it. In hour two, we will spend time with Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride, check in on Coach, see how his fourth went, get into some of the defense's projections here for the Big Red. And Rick Kaczenski with us, Coach Kaz, a Tuesday with Kaz, excited to spend some time with him. So that is happening in hour two. The numbers again, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. So Elijah, good fourth. You worked a lot. God love you. And you also got some U time. You have all the digits working. Sorry,
that's most important.
Especially when you're touching buttons, you got to have it.
I would be struggling to be running the board in here if I didn't have all 10 fingers. I'd power through the pain. I'd still be here today if I was down a digit. But let me tell you,
you had a finger injury a while back, didn't you? Where you had that bad boy taped up like you're.
I've had a couple bad finger injuries.
You walk in and we got like 2 splints and all the gauze in America.
Well, that was whenever my lawnmower was running.
Yeah,
and I was trying to pull the stick out from underneath, and the blade caught me.
Yeah,
but the only thing that saved me is I would have been down a finger if I had actually sharpened my lawnmower blades that summer. They were so dull that they were just like a spinning metal bar. So it got my finger pretty good. And then I dislocated a pinky back in the day, too. Yes. It's all bent.
And that's common with you offensive linemen.
You get them stuck in pads and stuff.
Or holding in jerseys. Right? But let's dive in. And, the James Mon decision, he made his announcement on July 4th. Also, when it comes to and we knew with where Nebraska was going, commitment-wise, right, that with Ashton Hayes committing, Williams probably was not a yes for Nebraska. He ended up committing over the weekend to West Virginia, but James Mons III, it hurts because and good for James. James had Wisconsin all over him. He had Nebraska all over him. He had Indiana all over him. Those are some great schools to go play ball at. And I'm sure there'll be a debate on whether you want to include Indiana as great or not, but they're absolutely trending high. They were a New Year's Six team last year and got hosed by their own league. And they are one of the favorites to at least push Ohio State in the East, right? So Coach Allen's got things going, and he's got a familiar name as his defensive coordinator. That's Charlton Warren. And with Warren, he did really nice work at Nebraska, a couple of other stops, and he has found his way to the defensive side of the ball for Tom Allen, who himself was really incredible coordinator at South Florida before joining Indiana, and then obviously the interim that became head coach at Indiana. But a lot of Nebraska fans are going to go, man, what's going on here? How does Nebraska lose a Nebraska ties type guy? And to me, it's simple recency and excitement. And as good as Nebraska has it with Coach Fisher, and they do. They've got a great recruiter. They've got a great developer. They've got a great teacher. That's one part. And you've got a program or a team in Indiana that arrows up. Right now, there's some uncertainty about Nebraska. I can only imagine, man, what's happening on the recruiting trail. And it's just it's the circle of life. And not all programs or coaches badmouth other programs or coaches that are having a hard time or have drama or are in transition. But facts are facts with numbers right now. And I don't have a doubt that Indiana or Wisconsin pretty much went to the win-loss number right now and said, look, we've had a pretty good run. We've had a pretty good run of putting guys in the defensive side of the ball into the league. And there are plenty of Florida connections also. As nice as Coach Fisher is with his Florida connections, Tom Allen also has quite a lot, not just few, but a lot of Florida connections, as well as Charlton Warren. And ultimately that's what won out was comfort. And you've got a program that's, Nebraska should be where Indiana's at historically. They're not. And it's a big 2021 season. I'm excited to see where it goes, but tough loss for Nebraska.
Yeah, and it was when we talked with Greg on Friday, it was he's going somewhere Big Ten. He's had his heart set on the Big Ten. And I don't know. That's not
always what you hear out of Florida kids.
Yeah, this is very true. But whenever I look at the current situation of the Nebraska defensive backroom, I'm surprised Nebraska was actually even in the conversation for as talented as I think he is. I mean, I think he can step into Indiana and get playing time pretty early, which is important to recruits, especially now in the name, image, and likeness area to get your name out there. And I look at the Nebraska room right now, and you have so many young cats in that defensive back room that are still looking to make a name for themselves. It's similar to the running back room where it's look at all these guys you got to go beat out. And I can see why a recruit would look at that, especially with guys with their eligibility freezes. You're not sure how long they're going to be there for to go, you know what, I'm going to go to the place in Indiana that I think actually has a spot for me. And I guess I don't know the nitty gritty of the Indiana defensive back room, but I do know here at Nebraska there is just a logjam of guys that are freshmen and sophomores. So
you have a lot of young players, and it's not that you can't come in or won't come in or are afraid to come in and compete. That's not what Mons is all about. But you do have a number of guys at a pretty high level that you feel that Nebraska will develop. We'll see where things land with Avery Powell and Markeith Williams and Nathan Vale and Jaden Mangum. Those are also guys on the target list for Nebraska. They do not have a defensive back yet for 2022. You have Hayes at running back, Androff at tight end, Ernest Big E out of Columbus at linebacker, Grant Page from Boulder, Applegate out of Southeast, Torres, and, of course, the big target and speedster Victor Jones. That's where you're at right now. So a couple of linebackers, and that is it for you on the defensive side of the ball. So let's switch gears and spend a couple of minutes here on where you think things are at for Nebraska as the world turns for the AD search. I wasn't expecting an announcement today. It's been laid out there by Ronnie Green that probably by the end of July, things should be solidified, which is fine. But you just get the feel. You've got the commentary from Jamie Pollard, and now you just haven't heard anything on Ed Stewart. And don't know if that's, hey, the wife is happy in Dallas, she's got a great job. Don't know if Ed's just getting bumped by the Big 12 to eventually take over. Are people looking at Nebraska's instability within the athletic department and saying, why would it change? Why should I move my family? Is it something that is a good call? And this is going to be kind of your iconic moment here, as we'll get into that for NBA Finals in a moment. But this is going to be, what Ronnie Green is known for. If it goes beyond the end of this month, that is a absolute fire and smoke signal that what you had planned isn't going to plan. So where does Nebraska look now? Do you have somebody in mind? Can you talk a John Cook into taking the job? Do you look at Trev Alberts? Is Garrett Classy, who's doing the interim work, how much is he in play for the long-term replacement? I mean, kudos to him for having things handled, all right, with name, image, and likeness. He has been all over it, minding the shop. He's had to do the interim thing here, but he's also been doing the day-to-day for a while, as much as that has been reported that Moos hasn't or wasn't always on site. Garrett stepped in, did his thing. So you've got a guy that's in it. He's pretty young. And I think if we're looking at this as a race, Elijah, I think Garrett's name is absolutely there. I think John Cook is somebody that would kill it, but you got to talk him into it. And then if there's Trev Alberts, I mean, does Trev Alberts emerge again? It's not that he couldn't do it, but could he have a tie to some Omaha money that maybe not spending with Nebraska as much as they used to? All those are pretty valiant questions here. We'll see if there's something at the end of this week. We'll get some of Mitch Sherman's thoughts here in about 10 minutes or so on the AD search. So let's get into the NBA Finals. Game 1 tonight, Suns, Bucks. I'll check it out. Not super geeked about it. Don't hate on it. It's not my thing as much as other sports or other finals. But what's your most iconic NBA moment? Where are you at? ESPN Twitter put this out, and you've got a lot of choices. I mean, you've got Big Shot Bob, Robert Horry, and I know he's not the same level as a Kobe or a Jordan or a LeBron, but Big Shot Bob won a lot of rings for hitting big shots, right? You have John Paxson's kick-out three to doom Phoenix back in the 93 finals. I have three moments for me, and two of them are Jordan, and one of them's Magic. And I don't discount LeBron in 2016 in Game 7 because it's totally iconic. But what are you more towards? Are you Jordan over Russell, and there's that horrific shot of the Utah Jazz crowd where the ball's in the air, it's about to swish, and everybody in the crowd has that, oh no, look on their face? I love that. That's my moment. It's everybody's moment who are Jordan guys and fans. Or that's MJ's crossover, mid-range, bingo. Game over. The Utah missed the shot to win or go into overtime. Or it would have been a win. It was a 1-point difference. But that's my moment. 98, Jordan, final moment as a Bull. Catch, shoot, crossover. Good night. That was cool. As a younger kid, I remember in the Boston Garden, it was 4,000 degrees. And it's one of those high-scoring affairs where it's the Lakers, it's the Celtics. They're back and forth. Magic catches it, dribbles from left wing to free throw line and does a baby hook. And just drills it to give the Lakers a win. They end up winning the series 4-2. But that Magic Johnson moment, and then it's Jordan's first finals. I think it was in Game 2 where Jordan takes off. It's the Marv Albert call where he's skying with the ball in the right hand towards the rim, and then in midair scoops it with his left. You've seen the highlight 1,000 times against the Lakers. And Marv going nuts, almost lost his hairpiece. Those are my three. And I think LeBron's is insanely important. and it's a better play and bigger moment. But the three I just laid out to you are burned into my mind. It's not that I don't think of LeBron with that comeback against the Warriors. I just don't have LeBron as high up on the list.
See, and LeBron doesn't even have my top moment. My top moment goes to Ray Allen. Whenever you look at it, it's I think it was 2013 NBA Finals.
That was great.
And it was games
Spurs Heat, right?
Yeah, Game 6. The Heat are down in the last minute of Game 6, and like I remember they even had like the rope up around the fans because it was in Miami, and they didn't want Miami fans to come storm the Spurs championship, raise the trophy, all that. But then Ray Allen comes, and I hear the call in my head: rebound, Bosh, out to Allen, his 3-pointer, bang!
And
just iconic.
No, and that was an incredible finals between the Spurs and Heat, and where Ray caught that, and it's so tight along that short corner, just down from where the wing and the elbow. You don't have any room. You have like zero room to catch, get behind the 3-point arc, and not be out of bounds.
And he's not looking. He's looking only at the rim.
And it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taken and made 50 million of those shots. But yeah, Allen in 2013, that was special. I remember coming on the air the next day and going, we're witnessing greatness here with the finals. We'll check in with Mitch Sherman next to Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We are knocking rust off the day after vacation. We welcome in Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, how was the weekend? How was the 4th? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know if I'm as refreshed as Elijah told me he was, and that may not be the word that I would choose to use. But I'm feeling all right. Or did he say he was revitalized? It was one of those,
did you get revived? Did you refresh, recharged? Or was it just kind of a whirlwind?
It was nice to get away. It was nice to get away for a few days. I don't know if the batteries are fully recharged. I got a little time off after Big Ten Media Days. I hope to do that upcoming later this month before we dive into preseason camp. But I'm okay. I'm in a good spot, and I'm cranking out the Purdue State of the Program piece right now. So that's where my mind is, but I'm going to take it off of that because I'm guessing that's not what you want to talk about.
Well, the power of patriotism does not revive you? Like that's what I'm wondering.
Well, I mean, in some ways, yeah, but holidays like that where there's a lot of extra food, extra beverages, extra time around some crazy kids, fireworks, pets freaking out. There's all kinds of factors. We had some baseball, which was good for my mental state. That was good. Had that last night at the end of the weekend. So no, I'm not in a bad place by any stretch. But I wouldn't say that's not the holiday necessarily that revitalizes or revives me. It's more like I survived it, and I came through and feeling pretty good.
You're spot on about the pet thing. I mean, man, oh man, there's not enough hemp products for Gertie the German Shepherd.
We got some doggy CBD.
Yeah, same with us.
Legally purchased that down the street here at a place outside of our neighborhood, and I don't know that it did anything, but I guess I wouldn't want to know what would have happened if we didn't give him that. No. He was hiding in the closet under my like hanging sweatshirts like every night from Friday through Monday was okay, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I just feel bad, but he's good now.
Gertrude's happy as well. Let's dive into some football and specifically the AD search, Mitch. What's your take right now as we enter into this week? And I know Ronnie's like, look, it might be into July. Fine. That's kind of the timeline. But Pollard said what he said right after you predicted that with us, and you were nails. You're like, no, Jamie isn't going to happen. And you knew it. You're locked in. You're plugged in. I think the Ed Stewart call has maybe cooled a little bit. And do you think Nebraska might be looking more internal? I mean, where are you at here as you're tracking this?
Well, it could happen. I mean, I think they have a candidate in Garrett Classy. I think that there's some advantage there in that he's guided Nebraska through the name, image, and likeness, the start of that era. It was not an easy thing to navigate over the past several months, and he's done that. He's been the guy out front. He was when Bill Moos was here, and he remains in that role. I think that there's something there. This is not necessarily. There isn't like a great time of year to hire an athletic director at a heavily football-driven school, and it's not like trying to hire a football coach by any means in the month of July, which is next to impossible. But you're sitting here, and there may be some ADs who are less likely to take the call right now because it is approaching mid-July, and they don't want to even think about that kind of a move right now. So we'll see. I'm answering the question about whether there's an internal candidate. I think there is. I also think there's the possibility that Nebraska could look at this and say, let's just extend that interim tag. And that's not from any information that I've gathered out of Memorial Stadium or from administration. But if you don't get the guys who are believed to be the slam dunk candidates, and those two would have been Pollard and Stewart at the beginning, then I think an extended interim tag might look like a possibility. If you don't just want to give it to Classy outright, let's see how things go over the next 6 months. And there's no reason why he couldn't do what he's doing now through the end of the football season. You assess where the football program's at that point. You see how the athletic department's running after 6 months of name, image, and likeness. Maybe there's no reason to make a change. Maybe things are going great. Maybe basketball's off to a good start. Football had a bounce-back year. Things are humming, and you're like, why would we want to change that? Or maybe you see something different. So, that seems like probably an outside, more unlikely than likely possibility based on what Ronnie Green has said and told the Omaha World-Herald in Sam McEwen's interview last week. It does seem like he wants to have somebody in place here permanently this month, but sometimes plans change, and I think there are a lot of options on the table.
Does if Garrett gets the nod, how will that be interpreted by the fan base? Do you think, okay, you laid out wonderful points as to why this guy could get it, should get it, maybe because he's already driven you through a minefield, so to speak, here with the transition and then the name, image, and likeness? Or is it, well, Nebraska was supposed to have some people lined up and that fell through, so here's the default guy? I mean, because that's kind of the both sides of the coin.
Whomever Nebraska gets at this point, there's going to be some division. There's going to be some split opinion. If you bring in an outsider who does or doesn't have ties to the Nebraska program, there is going to be, just because of the fact that the football team has had 3 losing seasons here under Scott Frost and 5 in the last 6 years, there's going to be a perception about the next person in the AD seat that he or she is here to issue a verdict on the football program. And it's all up in the air. So that's going to create some, I think, hard feelings, some skepticism about the agenda for that AD, no matter what. And I think you'd have less of that if it was Classy. I think that's seen potentially for football as maybe a safer thing because he's here and, he's seen the work that's being put in, but he's seen the good and he's seen the bad. So again, no matter who it is, if they stay in-house permanently, long-term interim, they go outside and find somebody with no connection to Nebraska, if they go outside and find somebody with connection to Nebraska, at this point, just because of where Nebraska athletics is at, there's going to be some division. There are going to be people inside and outside of the program, I think, who look at it as good and others who look at it as bad. There's no way for Ronnie Green to get away from that.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, Hail Varsity Radio, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, a thought here on Dalano Banton. He has performed pretty well with some of the camps and decided to keep his name in the NBA draft. He's a guy that I know there's the upside term, and I know there's the measurements.
Yeah. Kind
of surprised that he's not coming back, or do you think he did enough with the showcase to stay? I mean, obviously it depends on who you want to listen to advice-wise, but Nebraska threw their support behind him in his decision, obviously, but you think this is going to be a good call for Banton?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily look to see him on an NBA roster next year, but, maybe he gets a spot playing professionally that works for him and can build him toward the NBA. We've definitely seen that with some Nebraska players, who have had success taking that path. And maybe some team does like him enough to give him an opportunity to make a team, and he gets there. The Banton that we remember from the end of the season is a different guy, I think, than the prospect that people saw later this spring and into the summer. He, in talking with Fred Hoiberg and Matt Abdelmassih not long ago, as I wrote a breakdown of all of the scholarship players, and this was before Banton put his name into the draft pool. They mentioned him specifically as the guy who suffered the most as a result of the long-term shutdown that Nebraska had in the winter because of COVID. He, was one of the guys who was sick, and he struggled more than anybody to recover from it, in part because the nutrition and the strength training was so important for him. He's long and lean, and was probably a little bit undersized and thin to begin with. So when you had that time off and you weren't eating the way that you needed to as a Big Ten basketball player for a period of weeks and training the way that you need to, that really took a toll on him. And you saw, his minutes get cut, and you saw his production slide in the time after Nebraska came back, when several other guys were going the opposite direction. There were guys like Kobe Webster and Trey McGowan's who finished the season strong, and Banton was kind of going the opposite way. So that's the memory we have of him. But he is a player with a huge upside. And, they've talked about him as an NBA prospect from the time that he got into the program with Hoiberg. It's just, we've only seen that in flashes. So, he'll be committed, I'm sure, to making it work wherever he lands professionally. And the big thing for him is just going to be to get stronger and to work on his body and his ability to physically be an NBA player or a professional player. I think he's got a chance to do that.
Mitch, excited to read your info on Purdue, where they stand.
I know you are.
I'm serious about that, because they're kind of one of those teams that may not have been great in Big Ten West play, but they've been a thorn to Nebraska.
Absolutely, and they're coming back to Lincoln this year, and Purdue is a team has a big time star on the offensive side in David Bell, and a big time star on the defensive side in George Karlaftis. And then how the pieces fit around all those guys, it's very much up in the air. So not many teams outside of Ohio State in the league, can go toe to toe with their star power in those top two players.
Amen to that. Mitch, you have a good week. Thanks for spending time with us today.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. There he is, Mitch Sherman, with us from The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter at Mitch Sherman. We'll spend a little bit of time on name, image, and likeness, and someone who just gets it endorsement-wise.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
On Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Be sure to check out Mitch Sherman, our interview with Mitch. Thoughts on the AD search going on, and what's happening with Purdue ball, and of course Banton sticking and staying with his upside in the NBA somewhere for pro basketball, not coming back to Nebraska. I know that was end of the week last week, but wanted to get his take on it. Charlie McBride, 20 minutes away. Also, Rick Kaczenski will join us. And when we talk about name, image, and likeness, there's a guy who just totally gets it. And Jake Brend is there for you. He's there for me. He's there for everyone in D3 tennis.
Hi, I'm Jake Brend, junior tennis player at Simpson College. In Division III, we don't get athletic scholarships, but thanks to name, image, likeness, I can make money off the Brend brand. Maybe now I won't have to work 4 jobs. I'm going to auction off items to the Jake Brend tennis experience. These are game-worn shoes that I played in while leading the conference in double faults. Dream of being the 8th best player on the 6th best D3 tennis team in Iowa? Well, I'll give you a lesson right after I finish mine. Finally, I will go to your house next weekend to watch the Wimbledon finals. I'd have you at my place, but I have 5 roommates. The Jake Brend Tennis Experience. Shoes, lessons, mems. Bids to @JakeBrend32, Venmo straight cash to Jake-Brend. Together, we can change lives, especially mine.
Straight cash, baby. This is good. Simpson College, Iowa. Heard of it. Probably driven by it. And D3, baby. As soon as my lesson's done, I'll give you yours.
I love that.
It is good. There was just a tidal wave, Elijah, and I know you and Willie J covered it a little bit last week, but you've got everybody that plays ball, it seems like or feels like, is out there saying, hit me up. And kind of annoying, kind of obvious as far as that's how it was going to roll. And, you know, pretty excited. I mean, I'm happy for Ben Stilley and JoJo Doman. I mean, I think that's cool that they're doing a podcast. Adrian's already out with his. We got the Runza investment that's there. And, you know, I'm anxious to see how this works. You've got others on social media, friends of ours, that are saying, hey, you want an endorsement? Practice hard and perform well in games. So,
see, we got to figure out how we can take advantage of this. Like, we got to get one of the players to say, like, Hail Varsity Radio was my favorite source for Husker news. Something like that.
Here's 10 grand and start talking. I just wonder when it comes to promotion. We're good about having people on to promote their podcasts. We always have been. But also get some insight, be it a Dr. Rob Zadiska, right? Or, you know, Lars has done a lot of stops on the show over the years. And, you know, this door is open to players, absolutely, to talk ball, recap the game. But, yes, if you got a side hustle project, good on you. Go for it. So,
did you listen to the McGowan's podcast? Their first episode?
I did not, and I think Robin and that crew, they do a nice job, obviously, and good for them.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting idea with getting those two brothers together with the name draw they have here in Nebraska, and it was pretty cool to hear they had Hoiberg and Abdelmassi both on. It's just, I mean, you hear so much of
hey, coach, want to do the show?
But, I mean, you hear so much of Husker football, and we've forgotten some insight from Adrian. So it's interesting to hear the Husker basketball insight and just what it takes to be a high-level Big Ten basketball player, especially at a place like Nebraska.
It is. And, you know, I'm with the non-con. I love this non-conference. I'm excited for basketball, and we'll see where it goes. I don't know where the Big Ten's gonna be at next year for basketball. Who's going to be your favorite? I mean, Michigan should be good, obviously, but who else? Where's Ohio State? I know Ohio State landed a pretty high-profile player not long ago on the hardwood. I think Fred's recruited incredibly well. Can they gel and mesh? You got a lot of returning firepower. Can you get to being competitive? You know, as my weekend and holiday was spent doing baseball, and then just either golfing or poolside just to recharge, to your point. Mm-hmm. But the topic came up, how the hell's Nebraska basketball going to be? And I'm like, well, I don't want to put the pressure on. You look at the talent on paper and the experience coming back. You can't say in the Big Ten tournament team, you can't. They should be in a tournament, be it the NCAA, and I know you don't want to hear NIT, but I think there's enough firepower there for them to be on the bubble by the end of the year. And that means 500 or hovering around a game below or a game or two above 500. And you can be around 500 or below and still get the nod in the Big Ten because it's so stacked. Now, not every year is this year, and I know they didn't live up to the hype in the tournament, but week in, week out, night in, night out with the Big Ten, with basketball, it was just, there was no nights off.
And it's usually in the Big Ten, it's not like this every year, but usually if you're in the top half of the Big Ten, you got a pretty good shake at making the Big Ten tournament. Yeah.
Except if you're Nebraska. In 2017.
Yeah, with the Roby team that got stuck in the NIT and then
didn't want to be there.
I think they lost to
Mississippi State. Yeah. No, they were there, and you beat Kansas that year. Different story.
And they were so close to beating Kansas that year.
I know.
At that game.
That was a great game. It's one of the best Nebraska games I'd ever seen. For them to handle it that way, so. You got to figure Nebraska will be in the conversation for postseason. We'll know a lot more about where they're at. They've got a great opportunity. A lot of winnable games, but also you'll get points for those wins in their non-conference. It's not like it's Duke or Carolina. But NC State, Auburn, Creighton, those are three.
That Creighton game's going to be huge.
It will be, and it sucks it's so early and it's not on a Saturday.
Well, so that's why it's going to be huge, I think, is because you gotta have the guys ready for week 3. I know you've only had game 3 or whatever it is. Like, you've only had a couple warm-up games, quote unquote. Like, you got to be ready and come out firing to start this season, or else you're going to get yourself in a hole, and it's going to be a tough Big Ten slate to make the Big Ten or to make the NCAA tournament.
The thing about Nebraska basketball, and this isn't a shot at Teddy. I wish Teddy all the success in the world. But I just think you're going to have a focused locker room, but you're going to have an appropriately intense locker room, but you're going to have a more at ease locker room. And I think guys can really see this offense flourish with Hoiberg, where he can get you incredible looks with his sets, but he also, if you sling it around the horn, someone's going to be open. And there's enough guys that you want them to get better as shooters that they can make somebody pay. We'll wind down hour 1. Coach McBride's on the way. Rick Kaczenski is also in hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Give us a find on Twitter at Schmidt_radio. Chris Schmidt at Herbal Essence for Elijah. And are you moving? Are you trying to sell that home? Are you looking to buy? West Blue Realty is there to help you. They specialize in residential home sales in Lincoln and surrounding communities. They make that next move smooth. And for a limited time, you mention Hail Varsity, and West Blue will provide up to $1,000 on the closing of your next home purchase. 2 names to know. And you know what the housing market's like right now, a chance to make some great money off your home potentially. Call Tom Luby at 402-540-3768 or Kelly Hofschneider. Give Kelly a call at 402-202-2312. It pays to work with West Blue. Log on today, westbluerealty.com. Go see Tom or Kelly today, 1120 K Street, Suite 200. So are you gearing up for the finals, or are you ready to dive in to the match? And who are you cheering for? Is it hard to cheer for Aaron Rodgers or Bryson DeChambeau? Is it hard to cheer for Phil? Is it hard to cheer for Tom Brady? I just want to see this get good and heated and more trash talk. Are we ready with Tom Brady on that Zoom call? Because Tom Brady just loves giving it to Aaron Rodgers. Phil's getting a kick out of it. Aaron's smug about it, but he gets the humor. And Tom likes poking the bear. And then there's Bryson, who looks like somebody just melted all of his protein shakes.
He's an NBA owner, a self-taught guitarist, and has guest starred in both The Office and Game of Thrones.
He's unhappy with his boss and has no options. Who is Aaron Rodgers?
Ding, ding, that is correct. Well done.
It's a projection, Tom. I never said I'm unhappy with my boss.
I said it, not you.
Meanwhile, Bryson's grunting, as he's crushing 78-pound barbells.
Now, do you see what Tom Brady tweeted this morning? It's hilarious. It's that video that Phil Mickelson posted at the Masters a few years ago. But he just said, Phil emailed me this at 3 a.m. Can someone check on him?
Hit bombs?
Yeah.
Is this the hit bombs one?
He said, Phil emailed me this at 3 a.m. Can someone check on him?
Being aggressive, hitting bombs. Why is that important? Well, because you've got to hit bombs off the tee, and that's what I'm going to do today. Hit bombs.
Hit bombs. Look at Phil's little psych-up tape for himself. In the car, someone's filming, I pray, and we got to hit bombs off the box. I did not. I was garbage on the golf course yesterday. I lost so much money to my mother on Thursday. It was embarrassing. And she's a good golfer. I am not, but she still just said, dude, a wager's a wager.
I stayed away from the golf course all weekend. It was just by the pool, lighting off fireworks.
It was hot. It sucked yesterday, but it was decent. It was all right. Thursday morning. It was cool. Just don't like losing money to mom.
You make any money betting on Junior's tournament?
I did not.
You have any side action going?
I did fine him, though, as they lost the ball game trying to put a rally together. He's up to the plate and took this wicked curveball for a called strike 3 to end the game. So he got fined. I'm kidding. He had a good weekend. Hour 2 next.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. This is quite appropriate here. Tom Brady's golf balls for this match have all of these Super Bowl wins, the Super Bowl Greek lettering on the side of them. I usually use a magic marker with a little X. That's my ball that I just lost. Tom Brady goes with the full list of Super Bowls he's won. Hour 2, we welcome in Charlie McBride. Monday with Charlie, now a Tuesday, since yesterday was the federal holiday. And Coach, did you have a good 4th of July? How was it out at the lake?
Yep, we had a great 4th and had some... my youngest was here with his family, and Jared Tomich came over with his 2 kids for a couple of days, and we had a lot of food. Jared's a good cook, so you have to be sure you kind of sneak him over here so he can show you some of his new stuff. Boy, he can cook, man. He can make you look fat.
What was on what was the spread like? I mean, what did he bring with him?
There was sausage and briskets and chicken, barbecued chicken, steak, lots of vegetables. I mean, there was enough that we can eat probably a couple of more meals, 6 of us.
That's so good. Well, I know he's doing well as a farmer, and he's either got a picture of his dog or a baby calf, that he posts. Did you guys have any corn?
Nope. We didn't have any corn. That's unusual. I never thought about it till you just brought it up that we didn't have any corn. And well, the corn now around here is just about ready to go. So if you give it another couple of weeks, you're going to have a lot of corn.
I bet you will. I bet you will. That was kind of our staple, grilled corn. I don't know, 2 or 3 times. It was good, and I'm glad you ate well, man. Getting geared up. Can you believe it's going to be football season in less than 60 days?
Holy moly! that it goes fast. I'll tell you that. I know how that goes. I mean, it seems like it ends and it starts already. So by the time you get done preparing and all those things that go into it, it just time flies. And then with the players working out in the summertime, and it seems like they're only there 15, 20 practices at all, but a lot of our guys were there the whole summer and then took about a week before they came in, I think, off and went home for a few minutes and came back. But, and a lot of them would go home on the weekends and stuff like that with guys that were from the state. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of guys learn how to ride a horse, shoot a gun, do a lot of stuff.
I think I remember seeing that on a Husker Vision special. You had, what's his name? One of the linebackers from a small town in Nebraska took out old Tony Ortiz to his home. Right. Brian something or other. God, I usually have the name. I'm blanking on it. But, yeah, it was funny to see Tony put on some boots and ride a horse.
Oh yeah, he loved it. I mean, he really had a good time. I remember that. I remember him talking about it. He talked about it all year.
That's funny. Charlie McBride's with us Mondays with Charlie. On a Tuesday, it's Hail Varsity Radio. So, Coach, when it comes to this time of year, I know there's vacation and family time and trying to recharge. That said, you got a season to prep for. How much time did you spend in the office during the summer, kind of gearing up, prepping for other teams, going through film, all that stuff? I mean, how did you kind of break down your year?
We had 3. I think we had 3 weeks vacation, and most of us took one over spring break.
Sure.
Took one of them, then the other 2. Some of them were broken up. Some of the guys took them all together, 2 weeks together or something like that. But there was always a couple of guys around, here. We weren't allowed to talk to the players
right.
or anything, so we'd just kind of go through the stadium, walk through there, and let them know we're around watching. I mean, that's all we could do. And then at the end, a lot of times the volleyball players would come over because they'd end practice by running stadium steps and things like that. So the girls would come over and run with the guys, and of course they just ran by most of them. So they're in pretty good shape. I think embarrassed some of our guys, but they get in pretty good shape because we ran every day that was a work day during the year. After practice, and I think, it pays off in the fourth quarter. A lot of guys, especially with the big guys, and and so they push each other. And if they didn't do very good on a sprint, we just do that one over, which was all exciting. They love to do that, but the poor guy that was loafing is not one of the favorite people around.
It didn't take long, did it, to get that buy-in when it came to doing extra for guys, not only in the weight room, but also when it came to conditioning and running? I mean, it came to fruition against Miami for the world to see, obviously, the fourth quarter with your lines of scrimmage so fresh and so dominant. But, I mean, it had happened before then. Is there a moment, you think, where it clicked with the program, or had it always been that way as far as the big picture look to be ready for that fourth quarter, be the best in the fourth quarter?
I think that was part of the program. I mean, from the beginning, and everybody knew it. was something that they worked on. And what that does a little bit is the hard thing if you got a couple of bad seeds around, they can really be cancer to a football team. And so what happens is if there's anything like that, usually those guys will have their friends hanging around, and all of a sudden those seeds become 3, and then 4 guys, then 5, and then 6. But when it happens, the guys that are the leaders of the program will nip that quick and get it straightened out, and then get it straightened out among themselves. And things like that. I don't know that I ever remember any experience like that because I just didn't know. But I do know that there were times when I walked through the stadium that some of the guys that were running the not the weight guys but the players that were pushing each other. If you had a young guy that wasn't running, they'd send him up the steps. I mean, the players themselves, the older guys would just tell them start running. If they weren't going to do it, and that stopped a lot of that quick because, it's like every play, every time you run a drill is a game. Mm-hmm. And you have to run it like it's a game, or you're not going to get in shape. You're just wasting time. And so, they work it amongst each other. The older guys have been passed down way down from, I would guess, from the 70s when those guys probably set the tone with 2 national championships. And, I don't think they were a bunch of loafers. I knew a lot of them around town, and some of them were still running and working out and doing things like that. And, and even when players would see them around, I think they were a good influence on the team too.
Charlie McBride's with us Mondays with Charlie, Hale Varsity Radio. Coach, I want to talk about Nebraska's defense for a minute, and with all the starters back, you have Brandon Vogel in our yearbook did a wonderful dive into each side of the football for Nebraska football, and 88% of Nebraska's production is back. And I think you saw progress on the defensive side of the ball last year. So, how much more of a jump do they make? And the reality is this, Nebraska's defensive starting field position was 26th worst in the country. More times than not, you had nice field position by the opposing offense. The opposing offense a lot of times didn't start at the 20 or 25. It was maybe their own 40 or better, be it special teams or a turnover. And once you crossed Nebraska's 40, you were going to get points. You were going to get a touchdown, or you were going to get a field goal. That's just how it shook out. Did you have very many defenses that faced that problem, or were they able to bow up?
Well, I think that the whole thing, if you pass it, if it goes, is we preached it that our responsibility was to get the ball for the offense. Mm-hmm. And really, we didn't care. I mean, as a team, you don't care as long as you get it. Where you get it doesn't always make it, great, but it makes it that you're getting it for them, and they're not putting points on the board.
Right.
I think, and so the field position thing comes into effect, within their minds when they're playing. Mm-hmm. If they get the ball past the 50 and into our territory, that sometimes you'll see a defense step it up, and usually if he doesn't, the defensive coordinator is looking for a job. Mm-hmm. And so they blame it on him first, and know that. And so that's kind of where it comes. But we really stressed that it was our responsibility that we 3 and out was a big thing with us. And I'd hear them say it on going on the field, and reminding each other. And down and distance was a big thing, and in the kicking position that we didn't get any 5-yard penalties if it was if they had less than 5 to get. I mean that's giving away stuff. So those are the kind of penalties you just can't. It's their ball again for another 1st and 10 if you give up a 5-yard penalty. So your concentration and your focus really has to be something in it. And players will remind each other before the plays. I know that I kind of leaned on when we had a nose tackle or something like that, a guy that was our nose tackle, that he was responsible for reminding everybody what the down and distance was. And, so we could learn and teach according to down and distance, position on the field, and do that during the week.
Coach, you guys were really good at 3 and outs, and you were special with TFLs or getting pressure and sacks or just hurrying a quarterback. I mean, a lot of them resulted in sacks, but you had a nervous quarterback a lot of times because your front 7 was so good and your back 4 was dynamite as well. I'm interested here with, did you have a goal? Was there an acceptable number when it comes to 3rd down conversion percentage? What was, it varied team by team, I would imagine, but what did you want? What did you want every year?
Well, the thing you want to do, well, if you get the 3rd down, if you held them on 3rd downs, that number came up in the meeting afterwards. That we held them out of so many downs, we held them to 3 and out. That was a big thing. There wasn't a number because some teams are fast teams. They run a lot of plays. Sure. Some teams are slow, and you don't. It's hard to get a number. So if you just go by game and teach them what you really want, they'll think about it and they'll talk about it on the field. And I think it's really important that the defense talks, that they talk to each other. If there's something that somebody sees something, I know that in the secondary, I know we always had a safety who was usually somebody that, really was on top of everything and, would let guys know what's going on. We had, guys like the Brown kids and, Russell Gary back when it started. Russell was probably the first one that really was conscious of everything that was going on the field and would talk to guys coming in and out of the huddle and things like that. And, that just happens. You preach it, but you're not there, and so somebody's going to have to take over. And those are the times when you find guys that, have been around a while, that know what's going on, that make it when they first come, studying something is a little, it kind of has to grow on you a little bit, and you have to look and say, oh, this guy knows, a lot. I got to find out, and then they start doing it. And it kind of folds over, with the individual guys, and some guys take pride in that kind of stuff. And I remember telling the guys that when they drafted Mike Brown with the Chicago Bears, I said, in 3 weeks this guy will be telling your veterans where to line up. And they called and said, he's doing it. You're right. But that's the way he was. He knew the whole picture. And some guys are like that.
Well, you had a lot of good ones, and 3rd down was you made it look easy. Charlie McBride's with us, Mondays with Charlie. Coach, have a great week. Enjoy a little downtime, and we'll talk next Monday. How's that sound?
I'll be there. I hope.
Well, we hope so, too. You take care. Good to hear from you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, talk to you next week. Bye now.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back to it, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. It's time for a Chat Tuesdays with Kaz. Rick Kaczenski with us, defensive line coach at Nebraska and Iowa. Coach, how was the 4th? Good to spend some time with you.
It was good. It's down in Cocoa Beach for a baseball tournament, so it was great. I'm being facetious, but yeah, it wasn't bad. So went yard a couple times. That facility, it's really unbelievable down there. Phenomenal facility, and so real good baseball. So it's a humbling game. It was a great experience. Overconsumed a few nights, but didn't have my phones with me. So and had my wife protecting me from saying my true feelings about some of the parents and their kids. So we made it out all right, Schmidt. It's pretty good, man.
Hey, we got to spend time in Council Bluffs. Have you ever had the pleasure?
Council Bluffs? Never. I can't say I had the pleasure.
No.
Is there a casino there?
There is, and we got to be far away from the casino where. My words, not yours. There's lots of meth monkeys riding around. I mean, it was buy one, get one tattoo, man. And I love tattoos, just not everywhere. So, yeah.
Not everywhere.
You,
That's awesome. Yeah. It takes all kinds, right? It takes all kinds. But, yeah, I was fortunate. We were in a pretty nice area. So it was You know how it is, Schmidt. Your kids in baseball after well down here it doesn't end. So imagine literally going from September, taking December and January off, and going from February to this past weekend through July. So or through June. So that's after a while. Even the dudes you like start to look a little bit funny to you. So yeah, I was fortunately I had to work yesterday, so I got to miss the debacle. He went yard. He was their only run. But I think they had four errors in the first inning and got smoked by a team 9-1 who they had beat 10-1 2 days earlier. So, but I'm not I text the coach. I was watching it on a feed, and I text the coach. I said, I don't want to hear that. That's baseball. That's kind of like for baseball. That's kind of like we need to execute better for football coaches.
Sure, yeah.
So if I hear that's baseball one more time, so I might pull the assault rifle out.
No, that's all right. Rick Kaczenski's with us, Coach. We got beat by the eventual would-be state champs, but game was ours. And now I'm proud of how Junior finished up. We've got a little bit of a breather, and then baseball in mid-July, and then back in Des Moines, not Council Bluffs, Des Moines. Thank God. Towards the end of July. Look, there's some charming areas in Council Bluffs. It's just when you leave them, when it's in the rear view. That's the charming area. I got to get your take on your mate Charlton Warren. He won a pretty highly contested recruiting battle for a kid out of Florida that has some pretty heavy Nebraska ties. But I'd like your take on Charlton. I know you worked with him and coached with him, and he's climbed up to being a defensive coordinator and kind of one of the premier teams, on the rise that have been good in Indiana. What's Charlton going to bring to the table as DC?
You screwed me up there when you said premier teams, because I was going to say I thought he got hired at Indiana, Schmidt Rock. So let's pull it back a little bit here, bud. So
team on the rise. They finished second in the East last year.
I think it's a team that historically has been really bad. That's had two okay seasons. So that's how I'm gonna evaluate my Hoosiers.
That's fine
right now. So I love me some Bob Knight. Love Indiana basketball even now, but hard to like Indiana basketball. But I do love Indiana basketball. Charlton, unbelievable guy. Actually, we were neighbors. He lived 2 houses from me on 29th, on South 29th. So, his kid, his youngest, played with my daughter. So, unbelievable guy, family guy. And that's what you want. I mean, obviously, good football coach. You don't end up as a coordinator, as a bad ball coach. Obviously, had a lot of respect for him as a coach, even more as a person. So, And I think he learned a lot from Bo. If you look at it, it's pretty amazing. If you look at the DB coaches that have coached for Bo, it's pretty astounding where they have end up and how they've risen. You know, Coach Joseph obviously is one of my better friends in life, and I know the offers that he doesn't take, and he's had several coordinator offers that him and I have talked about not taking over the years, because they're going to continue to come. So it's a great. He's a great guy. Coach Warren, good football coach. But when you're calling it in the Big Ten, like I always tell people, this is best coach league. They might not have the most talented, might not have the most speed, but I would jump on the table and say they got the absolute best coaching and best coaching staffs in the country from top to bottom. So it's going to be a challenge, but I think he's up to it, man. So I anticipate a lot of good things. I think you'll see a good, fundamental, sound football team that'll be hard to run on and won't give up big plays.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach Kaz sitting down with us on a Tuesday. Want to spend a couple of minutes here, Coach, on Bill Moos. The terms are out as far as his retirement money, almost $3 million to retire or step aside. The search continues for Nebraska at the athletic director spot, and you got an interim right now that's weathering the name, image, likeness. Does that shock you about the nearly $3 million for Moose, or what? Or do you have much of an opinion on it?
No, it doesn't shock me. I mean, because that tells you. I think you read between the lines. That tells you that he wasn't ready to step aside. I don't quite understand the reasons, but I think Bill Moos comes out here looking great, right? I don't think anybody can say anything negative about Bill Moos and what he's done at all the programs that he's been. Seemed like a stand-up guy to me. Seems like an AD that gave every program everything that they needed to be successful. You look at these coaches' salaries, you look at recruiting budgets. You look at a guy that's come out when things are hard, when things are tough, and supporting his head coaches across the board. Like I said, you don't have to be at practice every day to be a visible AD. You don't have to be at every contest to be a visible AD. To be a visible AD and a viable AD, you got to have people that respect you. And you gotta, it's easy, just like friendship. It's easy to be there when it's easy. You got to be there when it's hard. And Bill Moos seems like a guy to me, from looking on the outside. There's been some hard times at Nebraska, and that dude stepped up to the plate. So to me, I think it's a bad look on Nebraska, in my opinion. How about a reason why you're doing it when you're paying a guy $3 million? You're paying him $3 million to step aside, and let's be honest, you're paying him $3 million to be quiet also. So if there was cause, or if there was a reason to push him aside, and it had something to do with Bill Moos, it wouldn't be $3 million, in my opinion. So I just don't understand. You would think that they had somebody, and maybe they had people in mind, and maybe it's an entitlement, or they're thinking that they can get somebody that they don't, maybe they thought there was somebody out there that would jump on, and they don't have them. I heard Jamie Pollard's name, and I thought that was kind of arrogant to think that he would leave a place he's been at 16 years. People want stability, not just, it's not just about money, especially when you're an AD for 16 years, where your kids grow up, where you have friends, where you're part of a community, where you built something. On paper, does Nebraska look better? Absolutely, but that looks better to us, not Jamie Pollard. So, where are you going next, right? And I think that's the big question: is where do you go to next? Who is it? And just like Mike Riley, hey, okay, fine, you got rid of Bo. Are you bringing in somebody that's better than the guy? that you have to replace. And I think that's going to be absolutely critical. And quite frankly, I don't know how the hell do you judge an AD, right? I mean, hell, who's? It's not like it's a hot coach out there that's got a bunch of wins or is a hell of a recruiter. So I guess in time will tell. But I'm a fan of Bill Moos, and I don't like the fact that he's not the AD at Nebraska anymore.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz, to wrap, and it's fun to get caught up with you. Kaz would be promoting what at Notre Dame if there was name, image, and likeness during your era?
Oh, good Lord. Oh, my gosh. Big Polish community in South Bend, so big Catholic community. I think I'd be going to the Knights of Columbus and, maybe doing some sausage, some beer specials, and, and some fish dinners at the KFC. So, I don't know. Unless you're the quarterback, I don't know about this name, image, likeness. I think people thought the money be rolling out day one. So I think it's a we'll see. But once again, I'll stand my ground saying it's not going to affect a whole lot. Well, you're going to have a few who's, and that's about it.
Kaz night at linebackers?
Oh, let me tell you. Yeah, maybe I can get some of the money back. Schmidt, I didn't spend a whole lot of money at the backer, so I think statute of limitations on NCAA violations. But there wasn't a whole lot of players pulling their wallets out at the old backer. So yeah.
A lot of Nebraska fans about 20 years ago. It was great. That was good.
Yeah, until the lights come on. Just don't go there during the day. But great people, man. That's a lot of places like that. So,
Kaz, you rock, brother. Have a good week. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Gotta love Coach Kaczenski. Always loved chatting with him. And don't turn the lights on at Linebackers Bar. That was an incredible stop in South Bend after a Nebraska overtime win. It was a regular thing for a lot of dudes who played ball there. Good to hear from Kaz. Tomorrow on the show, we'll check in with Mike Babcock, Mike Schuart, as the match continues on some world-class trash talk, as Bryson DeChambeau had a roll of duct tape before Tom Brady was going to tee off. Says, do you need it? Bryson to Tom, in case his pants rip this year. And Tom's like, is that for the pants? And Bryson's like, no, it's for your lips. So Bryson's... As
I take a live look, and we got Bryson currently hitting it out of a tree.
Shocking. He's the guy that can dish it out but can't take it, right? Everyone's got a friend like that, allegedly. And I hope they go down in flames. So... I don't know that there's a prop bet out there in Vegas. We'll have to talk to Danny Burke, probably to Chicago later this week. But if you're putting money on the first team to get just blasted for running afoul of name, image, and likeness, are you putting money on a futures bet that the University of Miami, the U, may have problems handling name, image, and likeness? Not that it won't be great for the players, but is it a simple case of, Dan Lambert plans a $500 a month endorsement deal for every Miami Hurricane football player on scholarship. That's a total of 90. That's $540,000 this year, the largest reported sum for a college endorsement deal with the new state laws and NCAA rules. But here's $500 up front. Uncle Luke's going to give you another G under the table, like back in the day. And I love that part where you got Uncle Luke sitting saying, we never did anything wrong, as he tries to keep from laughing during part one of the ESPN 30 for 30 on the U. I'm sorry, but aren't old habits hard to break? with Miami. And listen, you can pile on USC, you can get in there on Notre Dame, you can say things about Nebraska. But Nebraska's never been nailed. All these other programs have had issues at some point. And I don't know, man. It sounds great if I'm Dan Lambert, owner of the American Top Team and longtime Miami fan. He's offered the scholarship players $500 a month to advertise his gym on social media. American Top Team is home to the training facility for more than 24 professional fighters. And that's cool. Lambert also is offering the Hurricanes the chance to help. And he wants to help the kids. It's about the kids, Elijah.
For sure. Nothing else.
He wants to reward them for what they do, and I want a better product on the field, too. And you can get a better product on the field by going to my gym. So
I think a better idea is to have these U football players come teach some classes, some aerobics, some jazzercise.
Well, that could end poorly. Where South Beach Hot Mama is in there doing yoga.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? There's probably a Miami booster out there that doesn't care that some Hurricane players teach at yoga. Lambert's also part of the corporation. He started it called Bring Back the U, solely focused on putting money into the pockets of Miami football players.
Oh, man.
He said this company will attempt to rally support from local businesses to hire the players as spokespersons. I mean,
spokespersons.
Yeah.
I'm air quoting here. You can't.
No, I know. You're fine. So the good thing here is Lambert's had multiple conversations with school compliance department and said, here's my plans. He's also got an attorney to make sure that what we're doing doesn't violate the new state law. And, you know, there are improper ways of fans supporting their players, and now there's a legal way. I'm thinking Evan Shapiro all over again, where you got some little goon fanboy that's just going to throw millions at his favorite team. And everyone needs a rich uncle. You got Uncle Phil at Oregon. You got Will Ferrell at USC.
Is he the rich uncle there?
There's 100 of them. I don't know. I mean, it's all Hollywood, right?
That's what I'm saying. Is USC's also a pretty good futures bet to get popped for an NIL violation, too, just because of,
to me,
it's the schools with the money around. USC's got the money around. Miami's got the money around.
But buy a new facility. Get the hell out of the Coliseum. That's why you're bribing kids. That's why you're paying Reggie Bush, allegedly, to come play for you. You're great. You have offensive talent. There's an NFL system. You're winning. But you're in a dump. You're an absolute dump from a facility standpoint. The Coliseum's garbage. And you're not in the safest area of town. I mean, it's gated. You're not far from South Central at USC. And half the kids in California, bless their heart, want to get the hell out of there because they grew up in tough situations, potentially. You know?
So maybe that's why it's a perfect storm for an NIL violation out in USC.
Well, I'm just saying it still seems like a little too soon for me, for USC or a Miami to be rolling the dice. I mean, this is bringing publicity. It may bring recruits, but if you're doing it right at Miami, you're going 3 doors down and you're getting some dude from Miami Northwest. And there you go.
Well, I mean, I think I already have a good bet for the first NIL violation. That's going to Simpson College in Iowa because that kid said, I'll give you my game-worn shoes, and that's an NIL violation. I looked it up last week. You can't sell game-worn memorabilia until after you graduate. Look that one up.
But let me ask you this. What if you're a super senior? What if you've already graduated?
I believe it's once your eligibility has been exhausted. It's about once you're out, once you're off the football team or off whatever team you're on.
So, no, I mean, USC, Miami, there's some creeps down at A&M. Not everybody, but some.
I mean, Ohio State got popped, what was that, 10 years ago now for giving cars to the players?
No, it was the Terrell Pryor Tattoo Gate.
Oh, that's right. The tattoos.
But you had Oklahoma, Big Red Auto with that's 2015. Right, where you're making $45 washing cars. It's a dream job. Even the Sopranos want when it comes to no show. All right, so I don't know. Good luck. God bless. We'll see where Miami ends up. If they have learned their lesson from the Nevin Shapiro, or if you've got some dude with the turnover chain talking about buying a yacht, and all of a sudden he has a yacht. Look at me throw shade. We'll wind down this Tuesday edition. NBA Finals. They get rolling. We will bring back the steak and a beer bet. Schmidt v. Elijah. My record speaks for itself. I'm still waiting on that side of beef. And we'll see where we go. I guarantee Elijah's going Phoenix, game 1.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. And we will get into the steak and the beer bet. First, I want to tell you about buckling up. 70% of people in fatal crashes in Nebraska not wearing a seatbelt. If used properly, a seatbelt can reduce the risk of fatal injury by up to 60%. Your best defense in any crash. Buckling up, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. All right, NBA Finals. What's your most iconic NBA Finals moment? Elijah was all over the Ray Allen 3 in Game 6. Spurs Heat, great call there. I am obvious, but it is mine that's still burned into my mind's eye, and that is Jordan over Russell.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 20, and I didn't get to see it live. I was on a mission trip to Mexico with my church, honestly, in Tijuana. And I sucked at building, so I was playing soccer with the kids. I mean, just legit. Do you want me operating stucco and mixing cement? No. You want me playing goalie with a couple of the kids in the town. We were building the house.
Well, they stuck you at goalie, too?
Well, I was fat, yes.
They're like, look at this dude.
I was fatter.
Like, they saw you on the ball, and they went, no, go put him in goal.
Kid can't breathe. Fat old man. Go to the goal,
everyone knows, like in street, like pickup soccer, everyone knows you put the worst kid in goal, too.
There's a field, all right?
Okay.
We had a field.
That's still the same
thing.
In
Tijuana, right. So, long and short, my girlfriend, now wife, we're big Bulls fans, so she taped it for me. That's awesome. The bunny came through and taped the game. And I don't know where that game is. I have Jordan's first title on VHS. We watched that at Cousin Dino's way back in 1991 down in Houston when Dino was down there. So Jordan's first title and last title I have somewhere on VHS, but no VHS player. But it is Jordan with his crossover over Russell, and that's my moment. Secondly is the Jordan switch of hands. Third is Magic and the Skyhook win in the Garden for that Showtime's last title. LeBron's up there, and it's incredible because you see more and more kids on the court chase down a breakaway and pull a LeBron. We saw it in the state tournament this year at PBA for boys Class A. It was cool. But no, that's it. But your Ray Allen's right there.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get an iconic moment this year. No LeBron James in the finals. It's weird to see.
That's okay. And I'm wondering here, because you look at the game 1 tonight, Phoenix is dynamite. They have been to the finals twice, 93 and I think 74 against the Celtics. But what happens tonight? What happens in game 1? And you have the line right now at -6 Phoenix.
You said you thought I'd go with Phoenix.
Are you?
I'm wondering if you're playing mind games with me. I wonder if you want the Phoenix line, but I'll take Phoenix -6.
Well, of course you will. I need more than 6.
Oh, do you now?
I do.
I'll go up to 8.
Give me 8.5. We'll keep it at 6 if Giannis plays.
Deal.
Done?
Deal.
All right. Steak and a beer. We're air shaking hands. Talk to you tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity. Take care.